Meanwhile, protesters rallied for the release of former Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro this morning. They were outside a New York courthouse when a judge struck down Maduro's attempt to get charges against him tossed out of court. This was Maduro's second court appearance since U.S. forces went into Venezuela back in January. And they got into an intense firefight with the country's air defenses before eventually capturing him and his wife. I want to bring in CBS News legal reporter Katrina Kaufman. Katrina, you were inside that courtroom. What happened today?
Nicolas Maduro and his wife, Celia Flores, appeared to be in good spirits when they came into court today. They were not handcuffed, but they had their hands behind their back, and then they warmly greeted their attorneys. And when he was leaving court today, he also seemed to be smiling. And it's because the judge seemed inclined to rule to an extent in Maduro's favor. Now, he did not issue a ruling yet. The key issue today during these arguments were about whether or not Venezuela's government should pay Maduro's legal fees. Now, the U.S. says that there should just be a court-appointed attorney here due to sanctions on Venezuela and on Maduro. Currently, the Venezuelan government would have to get a certain license to be able to pay for Maduro's legal fees that they have not yet been able to obtain. Now, Maduro's attorney argued that this case should be dismissed if he is not able to choose the counsel of his choice. The judge made it clear today that at this point he is absolutely not dismissing this case, but he seemed really concerned about this right to counsel. It is a constitutional right, and a number of times today he said that that right is paramount. He also multiple times emphasized that he was concerned if they bring a public defender or a court-appointed lawyer on to take on this extremely complex case, that it would be overly burdensome. He talked about the complex investigative work here, witnesses in Venezuela. He expressed concern that it would take them away from doing their normal workload, all the other cases that happen here in New York. So while we're still waiting for a decision, he really seemed to have a grave concern here and a feeling that Maduro should be able to have the counsel of his choice. Venezuela should be able to pay for that, although it's something that he can't specifically dictate for the Treasury Department to issue this license.
And Katrina, you have some exclusive reporting about where Maduro is actually being held. Can you talk to us about that?
Yes, so two law enforcement sources have told CBS News that Maduro is essentially being confined in a jail within a jail at the Metropolitan Detention Center. He is in what's called a SAMS unit under Special Administrative Measures. Now, these are used when officials are concerned about whether a prisoner's communications with the outside world could potentially bring harm to others. What it effectively means is that Maduro is extremely isolated. He has no contact with other inmates. He is under 24-hour surveillance. He's only allowed out for 1 hour a day of recreation, and anytime he moves around the unit, he has to have 2 corrections officers and a lieutenant with him. So essentially, sources told us that there is this deck with a handball court. He can go out there during this minimal time and stretch his legs. Otherwise, he can shower, he can meet his lawyer. Besides that, he is isolated and he never leaves this area.
Katrina Kaufman, thank you so much for that.